In the back streets of the mainland slum, before the lights of Enkay ever touched her skin, there was a girl named Gina, half white, all broken. She didn't ask to be born different. She didn't ask for eyes that made men stare or skin that made women whisper. But life doesn't ask us what we want, it only gives, and then it takes. Sometimes all at once. What happens when the person you trust most leaves you first? What does a girl become when everyone who should have protected her only taught her to survive? This is not a love story. This is not a redemption tale. This is a reckoning. So let me tell you everything, from the first time my mother cried for a man who left, to the last time I cried for a man who never planned to stay. Before we begin, friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining our growing family. To stay connected to the best African folktales, hit the subscribe button now. Like and share this story with your loved ones. I remember sitting on a hard wooden bench in the back of our church, swinging my little legs that couldn't yet touch the ground. My feet made soft thuds against the wood, a quiet rhythm that didn't match the heaviness in the air. I was too young to understand sermons, too restless to sit still. But that day, I didn't move much. I just watched my mother. She sat 3 rows ahead, bent over like she was praying, but I knew she wasn't. Her hands weren't clasped. Her shoulders trembled. I watched her body jerk with each silent sob, and I remember thinking, is this what sadness looks like? Her scarf had fallen slightly off one side of her head. No one went to fix it. The pastor's wife glanced once and then looked away. And though I couldn't name it, I knew something inside her had snapped. Not loudly, not like glass, but like cloth tearing, slow, quiet, painful, permanent. Later, I would learn her lover had left. That the white man with kind eyes and promises had vanished without goodbye. They told me my father, Jeremy, was a disciple, a white man on miracle tourism, came to our dusty Nigerian church. He wasn't a preacher, not really, but he came with soft hands and foreign smiles, asking for the power of healing. They said he laid hands on the sick. I guess he laid more than that. For 3 years, he stayed in the pastor's quarters. Not with us, but close enough. Close enough to give her hope that one day, we would join him in Europe. But he vanished like smoke. No letter. No farewell. One morning, the pastor just said, Jeremy has gone. His people called him back. Like he was luggage. Like we weren't. But that day, all I knew was this: my mother died a little that day. The rest of her spent the next decade waiting for a return that never came. And every Sunday, she showed up in church with me, still waiting. As if God would return him if she was faithful enough. But he didn't. Grandma reminded her daily, through sighs, through side glances, through scripture twisted into blame. If not for that child, she'd mutter while stirring ogi, your life would have moved forward. My mother worked like someone trying to escape her own skin, cleaning compounds for neighbors who pitied her, washing clothes that weren't hers, grinding pepper for other people's soup until her palms burned. That was the only way we ate. She never said it, not once. But I could read it in the tightness of her jaw, the way her hand hesitated before plaiting my hair, the moment she turned away when I smiled. I wore the skin of the man who left her behind. His shade. His features. And when people stopped her in the market to say, your daughter is beautiful, oh, she would force a smile so thin it almost looked like pain. Because every compliment I received reminded her of what she lost. By 14, I had mastered the art of shrinking, of tightening my steps when I felt eyes crawl across my back, of looking down without looking weak, of pretending not to hear the men who said things they wouldn't dare say to their daughters. My skin, too light. My hair, too soft. My accent, amusing when I speak to strangers who expect me to sound like Oyinbo. Women in my neighborhood didn't know what to do with me. They'd stare just as hard as the men did, but with something different behind their eyes. Anger, maybe. Or fear. They thought I was proud because I didn't smile. But I wasn't proud. I was tired. I didn't want their husband's attention or their son's stares. I just wanted to move without being seen. But you can't hide when your very body is a reminder of someone else's betrayal. Of a white man who didn't stay. Of a daughter who looked like an apology no one asked for. So I walked faster. Kept my head low. Wore clothes one size too big. I tried to disappear in plain sight. But it didn't matter. My skin had already spoken before I ever opened my mouth. When Grandma fell sick this time, it wasn't like the others. Her cough came from somewhere deeper. Her weight dropped fast. Her eyes had turned yellow, and her body smelled like rust. Even our church's prayer warriors looked uncertain. She needed a hospital. We needed money. My mother stood in the doorway, her eyes tired in that familiar way. She gave me a black nylon bag. Go and bath. Wear it to Chief's house. He asked you to come for some money for the hospital. I didn't ask questions. I just nodded. I remember walking down the street, heart pounding. His gate was tall and green. When it opened, he stood there in white kaftan, smiling like he already knew why I'd come. "Ah, Gina," he said, like we were old friends. He welcomed me in too easily. The house smelled like Polish and pepper soup. There was soft music playing. He poured me malt. Told me I was growing into a woman. Said I was beautiful. What happened inside? I couldn't tell you in full. Not because I don't remember, but because I remember too well. When I left an hour later, my dress clung to me differently. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. He had pressed a brown large envelope into my palm like it was payment for silence. I clutched it all the way home. I told my mother what happened. I stood in the kitchen, the envelope trembling in my hand, my voice barely holding together. "He gave me money," I said. "But he slept with me first." She didn't look shocked. Not even angry. She just reached for the envelope, opened it, counted the cash like it was market change, 100,000 naira, then placed it on top of the cupboard. A few minutes later, she walked to the chemist and bought morning after pills. When she came back, she handed me water and said, "At least don't make the same mistake I did on your first experience." She didn't ask if I was okay. And that's when it clicked. There would be no rescue. No warm arms to cry in. No father to return. No God to intervene. No mother to protect me. I was alone. So I saved myself. That same week, I packed a small nylon bag, one dress, a toothbrush, 500 naira, and left before sunrise. No goodbye. Just the hiss of the compound gate behind me. I found my way to Lekki, too young to rent a room, too hungry to care. I started with escort gigs. Men. Hotel rooms. Fake names. I stopped crying after the third one. That's where I met Sir Kola. At a hotel bar in Ikeja, velvet chairs, and the kind of hush that meant deals were being made behind every smile. He sat in the corner like a man who owned the air in the room. I didn't approach him. He summoned me. He looked at me the way someone examines a rare item, not a person. Then he said, "You're not just pretty. You're dangerous." And maybe for the first time in my life, that didn't feel like an insult. He cleaned me up, sent me to a girl named Naza who taught me how to walk like money. Lace wigs replaced the tired braids I came with. My lips, once chapped from stress, were glossed and lined like a magazine cover. He showed me the game. How to spot the rich clients who wanted fantasy. How to speak softly but never too much. How to dangle desire without ever needing to feel it. I played my role. I became his highest earner. His ice baby. But the truth? Every time I stepped into a hotel room, something in me shut off. Smile. Lie. Collect. Leave. Then came Zeno. Kola handed me the dossier like it was just another job. Get close. Make him trust you. Here's the new blood. We need leverage. Simple. Routine. But Zeno wasn't like the others. He didn't ogle. Didn't brag. He looked at me like he was trying to see past the lashes and the gloss. And when I spoke, he listened. Properly. Not like a man planning his next move, but like someone who didn't want to miss anything. We met for drinks on rooftops, never clubs. He asked questions I hadn't been asked in years. Real ones. About my father. About the first time I was afraid. About what I'd do if I weren't this. At first, I thought it was an act. Then I started answering. And that scared me more than anything. Because I wasn't supposed to be the one getting caught. He told me about his wife, Amarachi. Not like some men do, with guilt or pride. He spoke of her like a man mourning something still alive. Said they used to be best friends. Before the money. Before the fear. Before the blood on their doorstep. He told me about the attacks. How his daughter was nearly frozen to death on her 3rd birthday. Left inside a chest freezer by masked men who wanted to send a message. He said he found her with blue lips, still breathing. And how since then, he couldn't sleep through the night. His boss, Odogwu, had become unpredictable, paranoid, vengeful. Zeno said the business had grown too big, and so had the enemies. Same Sir Kola wanted his cut now, called it a tax, but everyone knew it was war of relevance disguised as negotiation. Zeno was trapped between two monsters, and he was the only voice of reasoning. And I listened. I watched the way his hands trembled when he talked about his children. How he closed his eyes when he said their names, like it hurt to see them in his mind. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have solutions. I just wanted him to stay. Because for once, someone wasn't asking to touch me or use me. He was just there. And in my world, that was the closest thing to love I'd ever felt. I told Zeno, kill Odogwu. We were sitting on the balcony of his short-let in Ikoyi, the night humming with traffic and a kind of quiet dread. He had just come back from a closed-door meeting where Odogwu slapped one of his boys in front of everyone and then laughed like nothing happened. Zeno lit a cigarette with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. I'm not built for this, he muttered. I just wanted to build tech, not bury people. I leaned forward, told him what no one else dared to say out loud. Odogwu is a virus, and is attracting too much attention. EFCC is sniffing around. His enemies are drawing lines. Your children? They'll never be safe while you're tied to him. He didn't speak for a while. Then, in that slow, measured tone of his, he said, what if I go directly to Kola? Cut out Odogwu entirely. Exactly, I said. It's cleaner. You lose one devil, gain another, but at least the new one wears shoes indoors. And he did it. He actually did it. Odogwu was gunned down in a barbershop. 3 shots to the chest. Clean, fast, surgical. Zeno ordered it. That same day he sat across Sir Kola with blood still on his shoes, figuratively speaking, and said, let's talk. Sir Kola smiled, patted him on the back, and said he admired courage. Then he asked for 80%. 80. Zeno blinked like he hadn't heard right. He asked again. Sir Kola repeated it, slowly this time, like a school teacher. He played a video of Zeno admitting he'd just sent his friend on a journey of no return and he was down for business with Sir Kola. I call the shot now, he said, swirling his drink. Your little friend had too much power. He forgot who taught him how to hold it. Zeno couldn't forgive himself. On his drive back to the shortlet, he looked in the mirror and saw a man he swore he'd never become. He thought killing Odogwu would set him free, but all it did was make room for a new master. And that master was worse. Zeno tried to play it cool at first, reminding Sir Kola the initial tax was 30%. Well, that was before you killed your friend. In this business, leverage is everything. Sir Kola suit back. And every illusion of power he had left. Odogwu, for all his brutality, had at least allowed him 30% and name him partner. Yes, he was a tyrant. Yes, he killed men for less. Zeno couldn't serve like that. To watch himself become the same puppet he used to mock. A figurehead. Disposable. Disposable like Odogwu's other boys. And that guilt, it wrapped around him like barbed wire. Zeno unraveled after that. I watched it happen. Not dramatically, No screaming or breaking things. Just a slow collapse of certainty. The same way I'd see my mother sit beside the window after Jeremy disappeared. Still. Staring. Quietly dying on the inside. He started sleeping less. Speaking less. Every time I touched him, it felt like he was somewhere else, somewhere colder. Then one morning, as I was lacing my boots in the living room, he walked in, holding his passport. "I'm leaving," he said. Just like that. "To where?" I asked. "I'll send you itinerary. There is an escape flight. We should leave all this behind," he replied. I nodded. Pretended like it was a plan. Like we'd always talked about this. But my heart, it didn't nod. It clenched. Because I'd heard those words before. "I'll send for you." My mother had heard them too. From a man with a white smile and nowhere to go. Still, I believed him. Because when you grow up being left behind, you learn to believe in things you shouldn't. You convince yourself this time will be different. That someone will come back. That someone will choose you. So I packed a bag. And I waited. And each minute past the time he promised a message, I told myself, he's just sorting tickets. He's just sorting logistics. But deep down, I knew. Sir Kola came instead. No knock. No call ahead. Just the heavy sound of his shoes crossing my tiled floor like he owned it. I was still half-dressed, my packed bag sitting by the door, my phone in my hand waiting for Zeno's message. He didn't sit. He didn't greet me. He just reached into his agbada and tossed a folded sheet of paper onto my lap. "Read it," he said. It was a flight manifest. Private jet. Departure in 2 hours. Zeno Ekan. Amarachi Ekan. 2 minors. Their nanny. No Gina. He's flying out with his wife and twins, Kola said, his voice almost casual. Then he leaned in, his cologne thick in the air. "And you? You're just another chapter he didn't finish." I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Tried texting. The messages didn't deliver. Blocked. And just like that, the ache I thought I'd buried came flooding back. Hot, sharp, humiliating. The same ache from every time someone chose themselves over me. My father. My mother. Now him. Sir Kola chuckled, slow and mean. A Shawo Don fall in love. Something in me snapped. The waiting, the hoping, the believing, it all turned to fire. And this time, I wasn't going to burn alone. There are stories that end in love. There are stories that end in justice. And then, there are stories like Gina's. She wasn't the villain. She wasn't the victim. She was simply what was left. Dear friends, you've reached the end of this story. If you enjoyed this and you are yet to subscribe, 82% of our weekly viewers haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing ensures you never miss our latest stories, updates, and exclusive community posts. See you in the next one.